On today's show, the Mavs fall to the Boston Celtics. Was this just a Magnets game? Can we just chalk it up to three-point shooting, or are there actual flaws in the Dallas Mavericks we're starting to see? Maybe they're just not good enough. We'll talk about that and more coming up.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section what's one reason why the Mavs lost to the Celtics. I have a feeling I'm going to read one player's name a lot in this comment section. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And joining me, the post-game prodigy. What you got for me, slightly biased?
If it sounds like my allergies are bothering me, that's not what it is. I've just been crying.
Definitely not that.
Yeah, it was tears.
Oh, the tears. The tears. If you're a Celtics fan in here for our tears, you will get them today.
I'm standing on business. If you guys don't win a ring this year, you should be kicked from the league.
Honestly, and now the pressure is on, right? You've been there. Here it is. You've got an MVP candidate, apparently.
No. They don't.
Okay.
They just don't.
Okay. Mavs lose 138 to 110 to the Celtics. We'll talk about Daniel Gafford riding the bench again. Should the Mavericks have changed their tactics? They've tried to go with this, smaller ball with Maxey at the 5. Should they have decided to change it? I kind of think that they maybe should have. Luka and Kyrie both have to be great to win games like this, but let's start here slightly. We joked a couple games ago that the Cavs game was like a Magnets game because there's a conspiracy theory that there are magnets in the rims in certain games, and teams can turn them on, turn them off, where like one team can't hit a 3, the other team can only hit 3s basically. And I don't believe the conspiracy. That it is all a joke, but it's a way to like call a game where just one team is just nailing from 3 and the other team can't. Celtics finished the game 21 of 43 from 3. That's like almost 50% from 3. That's very good and above their averages. Not much above their averages, but it is above their averages.
Yeah.
And then Mavs shot 9 of 34 from 3, 26%, way below their averages. And honestly, for a large section of this game, that was the big difference in this one. And you can't just chalk it up to just that. But honestly, like sometimes the shots don't fall for you.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, right? I thought they got pretty good looks and just didn't make the 3s. Now, defensively is where we can start to have some, like, oh, okay, this is now a week in what was ultimately a pretty tough road trip for you, right? Obviously, the Cleveland game, you played well enough to win, and you didn't. So just unfortunate, miracle game happened to you. But that was the difference between a 2-2 road trip, and we're like, okay, that's fine, and a 1-3 road trip, which feels really bad at this point in the season. But during that stretch, man, it is a little alarming now that one game where an opponent goes crazy against you for 3, hey, that's one thing. 2 games, okay, but an entire week of just getting torched from behind the 3-point line is a little alarming. And since the All-Star break, teams are shooting 43% from 3 against the Mavs on 185 attempts, which I'm just scrolling through. I think that's by far the most attempts a team has given up defensively. I guess that's the way to say it. Since that stretch, I mean, I think Cleveland actually is the worst, but it's still just insane.
Listen to these made 3s by all the Celtics players. 5, 2, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. It's like,
yeah.
It's like insane. It's everyone too. And one of the reasons why is the Mavericks rotations are bad. They're not good. Like not bad. They're just not good enough against a team like this. Celtics, number 1 offense in the NBA. Like that gets overlooked because they're not this like run and gun. They don't have like the crazy passers. They don't have, Tatum is great, but he doesn't have the crazy performances. And so you don't look at him the same as, Tyrese Halliburton with all the highlights, the Mavs or whoever else is number 1, the Suns with all their all that. You don't look at the Celtics as like, oh, they're the best offensive team in the league. They are. Defensively, they're the number 3 team in the league. That's like historic levels of very good. They're on a 65, probably 66 now win pace. in the season, that's incredible too. That's barely ever been done in the history of the NBA. This is a very, very good team. The difference between them and the Mavericks is a lot bigger than a lot of us would have hoped and would have liked even after these trades. And we knew that. The Mavs were a 9-point underdog coming into this game.
Yeah.
Right? Like they weren't supposed to win this game. So I'm not going to come in here and be so mad or frustrated or upset or like, oh, can't believe. I'm seeing a lot of, God, Tim Hardaway Jr. He lost us the game. He checks in at 7:20 in the third quarter, and the Mavs are only down 3, and then he checks out at 8:50 in the fourth quarter, and the Mavs are then down by like 20 something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, or Jason Kidd is just so stupid with his rotations and him going with Maxey. Those kind of takes where you think a player that played 20 minutes or the coach making a couple different roster choices like that, those kind of takes completely overlook the opponent. The opponent is very good. Like, they're a very good team. The Mavs could have done everything right, and they could have still lost this game, considering how bad the three-point shooting looked in this one. But the three-point shooting looked bad because the Mavericks rotations were not good, and they're just not good enough to be a championship team if they're going to be like this. I
mean, so the Mavs were within 2 at one point in the third quarter. Like, up until that point, they had stuck with them, and the Celtics had some punches, but the Mavericks stayed connected enough to give themselves a chance, and then it went downhill. Tim Hardaway Jr. is not the reason the Mavericks lost this game, okay? I know that everyone's pointing to his plus-minus. Well, if that's the game you want to play, I mean, individual game plus-minuses are terrible. Luka had the second worst plus-minus on the Mavs tonight, and guess what? Luka was tremendous tonight, so it's just a silly way to look at it. I do think that, while I agree with you that the Celtics are, I mean, by a lot of advanced metrics, like a historically all-time great team, and they are absolutely incredible. I do question a lot of what Kidd did. It was, I think, the difference between the Mavericks keeping this game close and competitive and the game just completely slipping out of control from the 4 minute and the third quarter mark on.
Oh, I've got on the rundown over there. Gafford rides the bench again. That's a question I have for Kidd. I don't think Kidd made perfect choices in this game. And I don't think Tim played well. Right? Like I'm not saying either of those things are like, hey, Kidd drew up a perfect game. Tim Hardaway Jr. was excellent. It's like I'm not saying that. The Mavs obviously had problems and issues. I'm just saying if you're going to blame it completely on Kidd and completely on Tim Hardaway, then it overlooks the opponent and how good that team is because you expect the Mavericks to win every game. And that's just not the case. They're just not there. The difference between, Luka and Kyrie should have the advantage over Tatum and Brown, right? And just like talent-wise on paper, sure. KP and Derek Lively, and then Maxey. KP obviously has the advantage in that like matchup of just looking across the lane and on paper. Then you have the Josh Green and PJ Washington versus Derek White and Drew Holiday, and that gap is huge.
Yeah,
just role player gap, just looking talent wise, what those guys bring to the team, impact, all that. Like that gap is very big, and their numbers may not necessarily say that. Like PJ had 17, Derek White and Drew Holiday had 13 points and 11 points, respectively. But that gap is very big. And that's why the Celtics are just a much better team than the Mavericks are overall. But there are a lot of different issues, and obviously we'll get into all of them. But Celtics team is a very, very good team, and the Mavs didn't get all the things they needed to win.
I think there is a difference, though, between, if the Mavericks just stayed connected the entire game and then ended up losing by 7, that's a completely different story. And we're like, the Celtics are just better. Luka was great tonight, like all of these different things. But, I mean, it unraveled in a pretty significant way there. And it did kind of unravel whenever they went small. So I do get people's frustrations at that, honestly. I don't think it was Tim's fault individually or anything like that, but I think you do got to question what the mindset was against a Celtics team. That's big. They're big. Not only do they have a bunch of great shooters and stuff, but they're also a big physical team when they need to be. And matching that with the Maxey at the 5, which I think is fine. People were trashing that. I think Maxey at the 5 is fine. And it's worked when the Mavericks have been good since the trades. It's worked when he's played alongside PJ Washington or another big player. It doesn't work when Tim Hardaway Jr. is the 4. No, this is the most atrocious lineup I have ever laid eyes on. It's the worst. And I thought we were free from the shackles of it, but we're not, unfortunately.
Coming up, let's talk about what those things are. Let's talk about the things that the Mavericks did that made them lose this game. The lineups, the things. Why did the Mavericks just completely go away from playing big and all that? Is that not working for them anymore? We'll talk about all that and more coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds and things that you can do to get in on the game. Go check out all kinds of different stuff there. Celtics, by the way, plus 220 for the NBA championship. The next team is the Nuggets, plus 420. They are higher favorites than the defending champion Nuggets with Jokic. Clippers plus 500, Bucks plus 700. The Mavericks are all the way down at plus 3,000. They have lower odds than the Cavs, which makes no sense to me, by the way. Cavs plus 2,700, Mavs plus 3,000. That doesn't make any sense. But hey, go check it out. FanDuel.com. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. So go put it down. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon to get it started today. It's not just NBA. They have all kinds of stuff for baseball coming up. They've got NHL. They've got the PGA Tour. I don't even know when that happens, but they've got it. It's a tab right here. They've got all kinds of stuff. Go check it out. FanDuel.com/lockedon.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking it out. I've got a subtext line. If you want to text me, get text alerts on Mavs stuff all the time. It's like Mavs AI in your pocket, giving you notes and stuff like that throughout games. And then I also do film reviews and things like that. So go check it out. Text the number on the screen or text the number in the description. Click the link in the description as well to subscribe to subtext. All right, Slightly. You talked about there are things that the Mavericks did that were bad that made them lose this game, obviously. I don't think it was just a 3-point variance game. There was stuff that the Mavericks did to shoot themselves in the foot. And I do think that putting Tim Hardaway Jr. in there in the third quarter was one of the things that just didn't really make any sense to me. He wasn't bringing a lot to the table. He was making terrible decisions. Like Tim, at this point, can't just do one okay thing, or he can't do two okay things. He has to do one okay thing and one awful thing, right? Like he just can't string together like good offensive plays or like even good plays at all. On defense, I was watching him. He's just like floating around, and there was one play where Tatum was posting up on the left block, and Hardaway comes over like shades into the lane to help, which is like exactly what he's supposed to do. And then he like shades past Tatum, where he's like goes from under the basket like around Tatum. And then he's just kind of there. And so Tatum's able to turn left into the lane. And there's nobody there to defend it because he got around his defender. And Tim's just like hanging out. I'm like, what are you doing? What is happening right now? And so, yeah, he definitely did not have a great game at all and was terrible. But he only played 20 minutes. He's playing less and less minutes every game it goes on. Kid is playing him less.
His rotation, like he's playing less, like you said. I mean, it's just another scapegoat. That anytime this team has struggled over the years, there has to be one singular thing to blame, right? When in reality, the Mavericks' defensive schemes, which is just so that they help off of shooters, so their rotations have to be pristine and perfect, and they just are not. They just don't rotate well at all. They don't do it as a team. It's not just Tim Hardaway Jr. It's pretty much everyone. I was watching Kyrie tonight. Kyrie did a terrible job tonight defensively. I don't know what was going on with Kyrie tonight.
I ended up having to watch the ESPN one. It was on WFAA. I wish I would have been able to watch it on WFAA. There are going to be many more games on WFAA, and I will watch them instead of the ESPN broadcast. But I was watching and Richard Jefferson was like, "Oh, these boos don't bother Kyrie. He got booed every time he touched the ball tonight in Boston." I don't know, Richard. I think they may have bothered Kyrie because he played terrible. If you're going to talk about a scapegoat, why is it not the second star that some people say, oh, he's a 1A somewhere else, right? Or he goes 9 of 23 from the field, only 2 assists, just 19 points on 23 shots. Like he could have gotten some fouls here or there. I think under the rim, I don't think he got any favors from the refs. That's for sure. But if you're going to start scapegoating somebody, how about it's the guy that, he has to be great. Like that was a thing I said. I was on WFA today. They asked me, what do the Mavericks have to do to win this game? It's Luka and Kyrie have to be great. And they got great from Luka, and they did not get great from Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, and that was just a symptom of the entire offense. Like, there's no individual scapegoat for this game, and there doesn't have to be on a game-to-game basis individual scapegoats. The Mavericks, offensively, honest to God, I thought they played pretty well. Like, I thought they generated some good looks against a defense that's really, really great, and it was just a really, really poor shooting night from the team collectively. And Kyrie. Kyrie's been tremendous so far this season, and he's had so many great performances. And a bad shooting night is completely fine. Like I thought some of his looks were good, and there were some uncharacteristic misses. Enough for where you're like, oh, is this actually getting to Kyrie the booze a little bit?
Mid-range stuff too, where he's nails from those spots like all the time. And I'm like, hey, I don't know. I think maybe this negative energy is affecting his aura.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, remember the sage thing that he did was in the Boston Garden. Remember he walked around with the sage and like maybe he didn't do it before this game.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. I just
let's talk about the Gafford thing though. Okay, so they go with Maxey at the 5, and Maxey only played 20 minutes. It's not even like Maxey played 35 minutes or 30 minutes or something. They go to Maxey at the 5, and that lineup with Tim, like you mentioned earlier, is one of the ways where the bottom just really fell out from under them because it really didn't just work. I don't really get doing that against this team where you have this advantage now of going big. I thought Lively made a big impact on this game, 15 points, only 4 rebounds, but a couple of steals, a couple of blocks, altered some shots. Like, why would you not just zig when everybody else is zagging? It felt like they were too. It felt like they were playing scared, where they're like, all right, we just are gonna try to. We gotta contest these shots on the perimeter instead of like, all right, let's try and get an advantage somewhere else.
Well, if you're going to go small with Maxey at the 5, why is there 4 guards on the court? Like, that's just the one I don't.
Yeah, we got to get away from that.
That is just so bad. I don't understand it whatsoever, especially for a Celtics team that kind of plays pretty similarly to you offensively in the sense that they're going to hunt for mismatches over and over and over and over and over again, and then swing to open shooters. Now, they don't have the generational playmaker like Luka, but they all move the ball, right? They all pass.
Tatum is not a generational playmaker.
Listen, I was saying this on my stream. I don't even entertain this conversation ever because it's not even a conversation to me.
After this game, I was like, oh my gosh, how many dumb like Shamrock in your display name Twitter accounts am I going to see talking about how Tatum impacts winning and Luka doesn't?
Well, I already saw one tweet that said, I don't see any other superstar where it feels like it's 40 points and loses more than Luka. And someone grabbed a stab use. It was like the Mavs are 10-2 this season when Luka scores 40 points. I mean, there was that stretch in January where they straight up didn't win unless he scored 40 points. So, the narratives are always going to be the narratives.
They're all stupid.
And yeah, the ones with Luka are just insane.
Yeah, I just don't understand. It just doesn't seem like they know what the advantage is with that. And like,
well, it's like you said, like, okay, maybe you go small and pull the plug on it immediately if it doesn't look good, and then put Gafford out there. Like, why not make that in-game adjustment? Like, okay, we tried small ball. It's just not working against this team. And in theory, I kind of get it because they space the floor, and you want guys out there that can handle their own on the perimeter, you feel like. And you also want to space the floor offensively so KP's not sitting under the basket.
Which helped them in some games. They have needed that spacing. We talked about that, like 2 games? What was the Raptors game where they added like Maxey and Tim Hardaway, and they got the spacing, and their offense like finally started clicking.
Yeah, so I got it from that point of view, but then it just wasn't working in this game. So why not just go back to Big Dan or give Lively? I'm very impressed by Lively tonight. I thought this would be a really tough matchup for him in a game where he might not even play that much, and he was tremendous in his minutes. I thought
he does struggle, and so does Gafford with defending threes on the perimeter, especially defending and recovering to these bigs that are shooters. That's another thing I said before the game. John Krause from Locked On Celtics texted me, "What's the short like how the Mavericks lose games since the trade?" And I just texted him back. I said, "Hit a 60-foot shot."
Yeah.
But then he was like, "All right, what's the real answer?" I was like, "The real answer is they have struggled with these shooting bigs." Miles Turner in the Pacers game destroyed the Mavericks, like a season high, right? And you have like 30 in that game. And then Porzingis and Horford. Porzingis went 4 of 8 from 3. He's finally hitting his threes. Good for him. It's good to see him hit threes finally. And then Horford was 2 of 5 from 3. Like those are wide open shots basically that they got all night at that point. Yeah. And so that is one reason why Kidd went away from the Lively Gafford combo. But then you lose your advantages on the other end. You lose rebounding in a huge way. You almost lose the rebounding completely, honestly, when you go from Lively and Gafford to Maxey, because it's just a completely different look. You do lose spacing on one side. You lose the lob threat completely too. That's another thing that I felt like that they were really hitting on. And like you also kind of lose this ability, and this is why the bottom fell out. You lose this ability to win on like in baseball they call it small ball, where you're just like let's hit a single. Okay, let's steal a base. Let's do this. Like let's fly or pop out so that all the runners can advance. Like just do the little things to just keep yourself in and keep yourself connected. And when you go to this small ball, space it out, three pointers or nothing kind of deal, like then you just completely lose your ability to stay connected. And like if the other team starts hitting threes and you start missing threes, then it just completely falls out from under you.
Yeah, especially considering like it's not like this Mavs team has been like red hot shooting threes. Like they're not that great of a shooting team.
We've been talking about them since the trade, like winning despite 3-point shooting. That's something we've been like celebrating for them.
On the season, they're 9th in 3-point shooting. And I'm going to be real with you. It doesn't really feel like it that much. Like, it just feels like you might get some, it feels very inconsistent. It's either like Luka and Kyrie are hitting their threes, and those are the difficult create for yourself threes, or the role guys are hitting their threes.
The Tim game.
Yeah. The Tim hits. I mean, well, Tim was like 3 of 6 from 3 tonight. So he was contributing.
2 of 4, but yeah.
2 of 4. Yeah. PJ Washington hit some threes. That's nice. But it also, is just, they live and die by this 3, and they die by it a lot, man.
They still do.
And like you said, that pick and roll threat is lethal. And it slows the game down for you. You can play at more of a pace. You know, I know the numbers don't back me up at all. And I was like on the train of they need to play faster. But there are times where I'm like, guys, there's like a reason why you guys played so slow for so long. Because it works for you.
The faster thing was always like, just gain some advantages every once in a while. You know, like I think that's what even Kid was asking for. They weren't trying to turn themselves into the 7 seconds or less Suns.
Right.
You know, like it's just like everybody run out and transition every once in a while. And this Celtics team is a really good defense, and they get back in transition. And
wow, they were 1 point per play in transition. That is really bad tonight.
That's not good.
But they didn't really do it though.
Josh was 1 of 5, and I think Josh struggled in transition in this game too. When usually he's the one that benefits from some of those plays. By the way, you didn't congratulate me on my baseball analogy. You played baseball like a real level, and I'm the one that made the baseball analogy.
Well, I was letting you cook. There was one where you're like, you pop out to move the runners, and I was like, all right.
Isn't that part of small ball to like move them forward?
Yeah, but you don't pop out and move a guy forward. Well, you're thinking like a sack fly. That's more of a fly out.
Sack fly. Okay, you're right. It's
big difference.
Wrong terminology. Out. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
My baseball analogy. So yeah, I thought that they just should have just done something different. Like you got to create an advantage now. You have this new advantage. Maybe threes be damned.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say maybe they're just. I mean, I'm gonna get yelled at for giving Kid any leeway at all, but like maybe they're just experimenting a little bit more, and it's like, all right, let's see. Okay, small ball didn't work. All right, guys, we're pulling the plug. But I know damn well there's gonna be a game in the next 3 or 4 days where I'm like, wait, Maxey's the 5, Exum, Tim, Josh Green. Wait, does that mean Exum's the 4? Like, who's the 4? It's just so annoying, man.
Rough game for Exum.
Yeah. I'm getting Derek Jones Jr. has turned into a guy who might seriously get 0 minutes in a playoff series.
Well, he got 7 in this game.
And 4 of them were garbage time.
I was going to say, some of them were garbage time.
He has 3 minutes. His offense is fallen off tremendously. And it's sad to see because they do kind of need his screen navigation. Like, he was one of the few guys where it felt like he could actually get over screens and you don't get absolutely killed on off-ball screens with Derek Jones Jr. And so that's a big reason why, too, like you can get mad at certain lineup decisions. You know, guys like Derek Jones Jr. kind of forgetting how to do anything offensively hurts the team kind of a lot.
Yeah, that's tough. And that's one of the hard things with the trade and navigating post-trade. Like these new players come in and then we're excited about PJ and we'll talk about his offense got going a little bit again in this game. You introduce PJ, you introduce Gafford to an extent, and then all of a sudden Derek Jones Jr. falls completely out of the rotation. What? To
an extent, which is funny. Because I just remember people on podcasts like, well, they're gonna have 48 minutes now of dominant rim running centers who could rebound and block.
Oh, I was one of those. I was one of those that was excited about that.
And there's like national podcasts, and it's like, oh,
what do they get? They got 29 minutes.
Man, tough scene.
They got 29 minutes of dominant rim running.
You know, it is. I'm watching the end of this Timberwolves game right now, and it's like Cat and Gobert out there. And they were like, you know what? We don't care. Like, we don't care that you guys want to go small. We're doing it. We do not care.
I know they're a very good team, but the fact that we're taking cues from the Timberwolves is like a really jarring thing.
They're better than the Mavs.
Oh, this year, definitely. But I'm like we're really taking
I always love cues. Lively developed that 3 so we can get a Lively and Gafford minutes.
There was one play today where he set up in the left corner. Porzingis was guarding him, and I was like, oh, here we go. And then Luka called for a screen, and he ran over, and I was like, no.
What game was it? He shot a 3. He tipped. Remember, they had that out of bounds.
Well, he had 2 plays, didn't he, this year, where they called an out of bounds play for him to get a corner 3.
Yeah, and I think that was the last time we seen him shoot a three.
But like a week ago, he had the play where he set up in the corner and then he took one dribble and dunked from the corner, and you're like, oh yeah.
That's pretty much what KP got demoted to doing in the playoffs because he was so trash for us. But hey, congrats on being really good now.
KP was trying to attack those quote unquote mismatches with him and Luka, and I was like, I think you guys may weigh the same amount.
Yeah, they might.
Luka's definitely stronger than you,
but he is just like so.
He's
for
better.
The Mavs, KP had to be the number 2 on this Celtics team. He is just like a
3, 4, 5. Honestly, nights.
It's just the spacing he provides that lineup. I mean, it is just insane. It is insane how good they are. So that's what we go back to, where it's like, hey, there's no shame in losing on the road to the Celtics. It's only happened 3 times this season.
Yeah, where the Celtics have lost at home, and
one of them was to the LeBron and AD less Lakers.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Maybe the Mavs should have sat Luka and Kyrie.
Maybe
the Mavs should have really zigged when everybody else zagged.
That's actually a great zag. If you're like, all right, there's no way we can't beat them even full strength, so maybe we try to catch them sleeping. That's a great zag.
just sit Luka and Kyrie.
Yep.
And just see. Oh man. PJ Washington, he got his offense going again in this game. 17 points, hit 3 threes. He's 3 of 9 from 3, which is solid. 7 rebounds. He had a block shot. They run him in pick and roll a couple more times. I'm here for it.
Yeah, no, I thought PJ was good, hitting some threes again. Anything outside of the corner, he's pretty reliable from.
I was thinking about you when he nailed a wing 3 and then he just completely missed the corner 3.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
You can just tell too the way he follows his shot in the corner, like it's just he knows that it's not going in the moment it leaves his hand. But and I thought he had some good defensive possessions on Tatum. I'm not worried at all on PJ, and they need to just figure out a way. All right, how do we structure these minutes to where if we want to go small, PJ's gonna have to be on the court. How many minutes did he play tonight?
35.
Okay, he's probably gonna have to be a 40-minute a game guy in a playoff series.
Oh, for sure.
He's just gonna have to be.
Which is why his offense is that important.
Yeah. So, there are some things here and there where it's like even in losses. All right, PJ is a real guy, like real moving forward, both this season and just over the next couple of seasons. You can pretty comfortably, I feel like, lock him in.
I was watching this game earlier today, and I was thinking back to earlier in the season when Derek Jones Jr. is playing really well, and he's the only free agent that's not. He's the only guy that's in the rotation that's not really signed next year. And I was like, man, what if the Mavs can't keep Derek Jones Jr.? Oh, they'd be in such a tough place. Blah blah blah. It's like, oh, so much. We're in a such better place now, roster wise. Next season, we're not depending on Derek Jones Jr. to just leave and get overpaid somewhere.
Yeah, the PJ trade. I think I was hesitant on it first. I can already tell you, I think that's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
I've already changed my mind on that. I think that was worth it for sure.
Paid a distant low first for a guy that is
hopefully low.
Well, here's hoping. We're trying to be optimistic at the end of this year.
Yeah, we are.
We're trying to be optimistic. Yeah. So is there anything Kidd did in this game that you would have done differently where you're like, all right, I've got to change this going forward?
I'm never playing the 4-guard lineup again. Like that just should not happen anymore.
No.
I would genuinely rather see Omax out there. Like, seriously, I would rather have Omax run around and look like a rookie because at least you have a chance. When you go 4-guard, I feel like, I don't know what the numbers are with it. I feel like they always get smacked. Always. You don't give yourself any leeway because, like you said earlier, we're bombing threes and they have to go in. Have to, or else we're screwed. And that is just a dangerous game to find yourself playing.
Would you entertain Hardy instead of Tim Hardaway minutes?
So is Tim really that terrible tonight? I mean, I guess he didn't jump out of the screen as terrible to me.
He hit 2 threes, but his defense was very bad. And he did he has Wes Matthews syndrome. When Wes Matthews used to be on the Mavericks, Isaac and I would come on shows like this afterwards and talk about his game, and they lost all of them. But Wes Matthews does a bunch of good things, and then 10% of it he's making a mistake, but his mistakes are very loud, where they just stand out completely. Now, I think Tim does less good things than Wes Matthews used to do, but his mistakes are very loud. He has that first play where he checks into the game, he's in transition, he's driving on the right side. Luka is in the middle of the floor, and he's going right at Horford, and he thinks it's a mismatch, and he just dribbles completely off his leg and you're like, you're Tim Hardaway's son. Tim Hardaway had one of the best handles in the NBA.
That is kind of crazy.
Talking about senior. Like he just didn't get any of those, I guess. And yeah, his mistakes are very loud. Like the defensive stuff that we talked about, his dribbling, his I've been long a hater of his transition game because it just makes wild decisions in it. But
okay, I'm not so sure Hardy. I'd entertain Omax.
Wow.
I just don't understand it in game like when you're resorting to going that small. Is it that bad? Like they see more of him than we do, obviously. Is it like that bad for them where they're like, there's just simply no way we could have Omax out there?
I don't really understand it. I don't understand why they haven't tried him a couple more times just because of what he represents. And after the PJ trade, I understand a little more. But then you see Omax in garbage time, like just drive into three guys.
Yeah.
In transition.
But that's why you don't care about garbage time because guys are like, I want to go out there and score a point.
Yeah, right. And he can do that in the G League and it doesn't matter because he's taller than everyone else on the floor.
Yeah. So, what's your vibes at? Are we panicking or
are you settled into being a play-in team?
So no, I don't think so yet. But this next week will seal your fate. I feel like because the schedule is not like a cupcake, but it's manageable, and I feel like. I would personally like for you to go 6-0. Like I'm just being honest over your next 6 games. If I'm wanting to move up to 5 or 6,
you have to.
I'm wanting to win the next 6 games. I know that sounds crazy, but
they went 7-0 and didn't move up.
Yeah, true. They're in a worse spot in the standings than they were before the 7-game winning streak.
So Sunday home against the Sixers,
non-negotiable. You have to win that game.
Then Indiana on Tuesday, so you get a day off, and then you're home against Indiana.
Win that game, you have shame.
Thursday, home for the Miami Heat, and
Jason Kidd out coaches Spoelstra.
Do I need to get the credit card back out?
A Kidd masterclass against Spoelstra. Incoming.
Then Detroit at Detroit.
Don't please.
Nobody wants to be that team, right, Kuzma?
Please God.
And then at Chicago on Monday.
Please. And then one of the most important games of the season, probably at that point.
Home for Golden State.
Non-negotiable. 6-0. You do it.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll see. There you go. Let us know in the comment section what's one reason why the Mavs lost to the Celtics today, and we'll be back on Sunday breaking down that game. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.